Hey, it's been a while since I posted. I'm still alive, still kicking, still hanging in there. But today, we're working on AC. You can see I'm working on the Blue F-150, the 91, and it has the infamous melted connector and fried fan switch. You can see these terminals, especially that one and that one, they're both shot. Well, you can see it's also black. It's been hot. So, and of course, here one day last week, I went to come to town and to use the air conditioning, and I only had one fan speed. I had two for a while, and I knew that the fan switch was going bad, but I didn't know that the connector was bad. These go bad in several ways. The first one, sometimes a switch will just go bad and the connector survives. And you can just replace the switch, plug the connector in, and you're good to go. And sometimes just the terminals and the connector melts and the terminals are okay, and you can get just a new connector. And you can just go that route, and sometimes you're good to go and the switch is okay. And sometimes the connector melts. And of course, when in this situation, all of it goes bad. My first Bronco, my first 79, it was a red one, but with the freewheeling package, just had the connector that melted, and I went and put a new connector in it, and it was just fine after that. But I have a new connector. Here's a new connector, and I have a new fan switch. Things that I'm going to do different. This comes with supplied butt connectors. And what that's going to do, it's just going to move the problem on down the line a few inches. Then you're going to have problems with fan speed not running the right speed, and probably these coming loose. It's an okay repair, but it's not one that I recommend. A little bit better would be these crimp and seal connectors. You crimp them, use a heat gun, cigarette lighter, torch, anything, seals the insulation. That's a little bit better, but I'm still not crazy about them. And of course, the last route, which I always do, is heat shrink and solder, which I'm going to cut these butt connectors off, and I'm just going to solder them together and heat shrink them. That should provide for years of dependable, lasting service, and shouldn't have to worry about it for a long time. Of course, this connector looks like it's well made. It's real heavily made. I've seen some cheapies in the past, but this one looks like it's a good one. All right, well, let's get started. Okay, first thing you want to do after you make note of the position of the connectors here. See, I want to make note of this, how this illumination connector is fastened onto the harness. I took a picture with my phone, and I'm just going to pop that out because I'm going to cut all of this, because I want to cut back in here where I tape on. So I'm going to find my knife, and I'm just going to start cutting, and I hope that I don't cut my finger. Good possibility of that happening. Even better, it's in convolute, and I can just take and grab that and rip that off. It's all held in with friction tape. Stuff's good and gooey. Okay, that's out of the way. And I'll be saving this also to go back on. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this tape right here. Be sure to make note of that, because I will be taping that back in the same manner. Now I'm just going to unplug this and get this out of the way. Pull that down. And straighten it out here. And I'm just going to cut each wire. I think I'll just cut it right about right there. All right, that part is out of the way. Of course, save the configuration so you'll know which way the wires go, because they're not going to be colored exactly. Just position, as long as you get the position in the same, where the same wires go to the same part of the terminal as the old one did, you'll be all right. Okay, I did some changes to the connector here. The wires were configured a little bit different, so I took all the terminals out of the connector itself, the connector body, and just reconfigured it to match closer to what I had. See, the white with the red tracer, I now matched it up to a white one. The green one with the white tracer, I've matched it up to a green one. The orange one with a black tracer, now I've matched it to an orange one, and of course the solid black to solid black. That'll make it a little easier. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these butt connectors off, because like I said, that's just going to move the problem on down the line, and we don't really want that. And I'm going to work on getting the inside, the wires prepped. I changed up how I did things. I went ahead and took the leads back out of the connector, and you see that I have one soldered on so far. There we go, you can get a good focus. But that is a good solder joint. A lot better than a crimp-on. So that's going to be not going to be a resistance issue. Whereas if you'd crimp the wires together, it would vibrate loose or whatever. That is not going to go anywhere. That is the proper repair. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and solder the rest of them on. Then I'm going to heat shrink, and then I'm going to put the wires back into the connector. Also, I put something on the carpet so solder doesn't run off and hit the carpet. I can get a little dirt out of the carpet. If solder gets into it, it's there permanently. We don't want that. Okay, so let's get back to work. I do it. I just untwist it a little bit. And I stab them together. And of course, pinch them back in. And time to apply the heat.